worship of God. So they went to worship that night, and she said it was a candlelight vigil, and everybody had gathered around, and she said no matter how frivolous everything else it seemed at that moment, it seemed to be important to be there. She said as she stood up, she said, I'm standing alone in front of the congregation, and there's white candles burning on the wall sconces, and the hands of the congregant have their little lights in their hand. And she said, the pastor's wife looks over at me, and she nods for me. And she starts playing the opening frame of O Holy Night. She said, my knees knocked with nervousness as I began my solo with a wavering little voice. And then she says it. While I'm doing it, I'm overwhelmed with the sense that I am in the presence of something transcendent, something benevolent, something loving. She said, I look out at my mother and grandparents in the second pew. My mother has not allowed my grandparents to touch her in months. But by some grace that night, she sits very close to them. Her eyes shine, there are tears on her cheeks. I sing on in my little voice. And in that moment, I am loved. I am safe. And we are a family like any other. I have a feeling I can speak for probably almost everyone in this room. It's been a tough year or two for our nation, for the world, for our neighborhoods, perhaps even for your family, or even you personally. There's been a lot going on. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of confusion. We now live in a very messy world, often with messy communities, perhaps even messy families. And yet, there's something about Christmas Eve, something about the music, or the words, or the promises, or the transcendent knowledge to know that for God so loved the world that what? He gave his one and only Son, that all those who believe in him should not perish, but have eternal life, eternal hope, eternal peace. I'd like to share another little story about a family, pretty close-knit family actually, and the one year their 85-year-old mom had a bad stroke. Ended up, she couldn't speak, she couldn't walk, she didn't recognize anybody. Her needs were so great that her family ended up needing to put her into a nursing home. So as it came around to the next Christmas, months later, the family had still decided to get together, the siblings. Mom was in the nursing home and they hated that she was there, but that was the best place for her to be, for her to get her needs cared for. So the siblings gathered around and they decided to bring back an old tradition. Maybe some of you do this, that the family would gather around a piano and they would sing Christmas carols together. And so that night they got around the piano and decided to do this again, and so they started to play the piano and they sang about 2 Christmas carols, and then finally one of them said, "We need to go get Mom." So the other siblings agreed, and so two of them headed off, and they went to the nursing home, and they brought Mom home in a wheelchair, and they worked her into the house, and they wheeled her right over to the piano. And when they got there, they began singing. Their mother, who had not spoken a word at that point in 5 years, they said it like this: Mom began singing too. Her voice was soft, but she was on key, and she knew the words. Everyone was stunned, but we kept singing Silent Night. They smiled at her and she nodded. They sang other carols and she sang all of them with us. It was an incredible moment of warmth, of joy, of blessing, and almost magical beauty. Even when she couldn't recognize the faces of her own children, even when she seemed incapable of laughter or tears, the songs of Christmas were still in her soul. I don't know what brought you here, but there's something very powerful and sacred about when God's people gather tonight to honor our God, to sing those songs, to hear those words of promise that God loves you so much that He gave His Son for you. I pray that in some way God will touch your heart tonight, that you will experience that transcendent moment of time with Him, and that you will leave this place